So today we're going to do sugar cookies. Welcome to our class. I'm super excited. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our dough. So as you can see here, I put in my butter and I'm just making it smooth. It's only the butter first. We're actually going to be using the creaming process, which is butter, then sugar. You mix it together and then you add the egg. That helps it become that dough that we need for that cookie creaming. The creaming process is a very common terminology for cookies specifically. All right, so our butter is fairly softened. I always like to do this on cookies or cakes if it calls for butter first, or exactly the creaming process. You want to soften it. You want to get it nice and smooth so it's a lot easier to work with. And then we're gonna add the sugar. As you can see, I'm adding the sugar. We're going to mix it until it's just combined, and then I'm going to add in my egg, and again, until just combined. Okay, so it's always a good idea to stop your mixer and scrape it down. You see how it's just whirling around and it's not getting anything. It happens quite often. That's okay. Sometimes these standing KitchenAids do that. But you do want to get it until it's fully smooth. The second thing I want to say is now is the time that I generally add all of the rest of my ingredients, including the vanilla, the salt, if I need baking powder or baking soda, the flour, and any dry ingredients. Now it really depends on the recipe whether you shift them in. Sometimes you do it lightly, sometimes you do it half or a third. That does happen. On this recipe, I generally just dump it all in and I'm ready to go. So we've got our flour, and it calls for salt as well. And that is it. It's a very, very simple recipe. The other thing that I'm going to add note-wise is if you don't want vanilla, almond or lemon is also very traditional with the flavoring of these cookies. You can add half a teaspoon of almond extract. Personally, I don't like the almond extract flavor in my cookies, but that is what is in sugar cookies in the stores, so just so you're aware. The other thing is, like I said, you can switch it for lemon. Lemon is absolutely delicious for these cookies. I highly recommend it if you don't have vanilla. Personally, I like my vanilla in there. So we're going to mix it until it is a dough. If it gets too crumbly, I always say this, if it gets too crumbly, you're just going to add a little bit of milk until it combines. This recipe I have never needed milk for. Actually, I would say most of the time, my recipes don't. On occasion, you have one of those days where it just happens, but it's really rare for that to happen. But just on a side note, if you need milk, you need it. All right, so our dough is ready. You can absolutely refrigerate this for about 30 minutes if you feel like it's necessary. I don't with this recipe. It doesn't need it. So we're going to move to the other side of the counter where I have everything set up. We have our rolling pin. I have a little mat. It's actually a cutting board. I have extra flour. I have our dough. And I have our cookie cutters. And this is exactly what you need. So on my mat, I'm going to put flour on. I'm going to dust it with flour. And then I'm going to put my dough on. And I'm going to just gently knead it for a little bit. You don't need a lot. I will say this definitely saves your cleaning counter. When it comes to projects, we do a lot of hands-on flour projects like bread and cookies where we need to use our hands and flour our surfaces. It's okay to do it directly on the counter, but when I found these mats, it just saved a whole lot of trouble. So I am doing a little bit at a time. I do rub the flour onto our rolling pin. That is so it doesn't stick. And then what we are going to do, sorry about the angle, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to roll it out both directions. You generally want to do a quarter turn. You'll see me do it now. If it's sticking, then you know you don't have enough flour on there. So a quarter turn helps so that everything is evenly, and you just want to do it lightly in both directions. Yeah, see how it's sticking? There's not enough flour on there. So that's okay. You scrape it off. I'm putting that extra dough to the side and I'm putting more flour on. That's just the name of the game. Alright, and you want your dough to be about a 1/4 inch thick. If you see in the corner, I forgot to put on the oven. Your oven will be at 350. On bake, this helps. So that is prepared so that as you work your dough and you get your shapes going, you can pop them in the oven for 8 minutes. They are delicious and you can keep working as they bake. So I set up our cookie sheets, and this way I can just put our cutout shapes on those as we work. So I am doing a bunch of different shapes. This one is mostly Christmas, but I pulled a bunch of circles out just to show you guys a few different things. And that's all you do is you cut them out. You want to use as much dough as possible, so you want to get them as close as possible. And again, you want your dough about a 1/4 of an inch thick. Okay, so you'll just see I keep doing this. I'm just going to keep going. This is exactly what you'll be doing. You're just going to rework that dough. You're going to add more dough in that you have in your bowl. I don't advise you to work with all of the dough. If something breaks, it's okay. I just rework it and roll it out again. The good thing about this recipe is it doesn't develop gluten the way a bread would. So all you need to do is rework that dough and re-roll it, and you are good to go. So I do it in spurts. I do it like a little at a time. Sometimes I can get a couple cookies in. Sometimes I get more. Sometimes I get less. You'll get there. Just make it evenly as possible. That was not even, but you know, it's fine. You just keep going with it. And see, I didn't realize that there was 2 of them, and I just decided to rework my dough. It's not a big deal. You want to make sure you have adequate space. I clearly don't in this video. You can see I'm struggling with getting my rolling pin across. because it's such a limited space. And if you have extra flour on your dough, it's okay to just brush it off quickly. And these sugar cookies are great for any time of the year. Right now, you can see that I have holidays. I have trees, and I have snowmen and all sorts of things. But it's the same recipe I would use if it was, say, Valentine's Day or for a birthday or whatever the occasion. This is the recipe I do if we're doing decorated cookies. Yeah, so Matthew wanted those. You guys can't see him, but Matthew was helping me, and he was on the other side telling me which cookie cutters to use. You'll see him jump in just a second. Okay, so you could see that Matthew jumped in. He did his own thing. Here he is now. It's very easy for kids to do this no matter the age. He's been doing this since he was probably about 2. He can roll out the dough easily enough. He knows how to quarter turn. So it really doesn't matter on the age. It matters on your comfort level as a parent. Some kids will need help, some kids don't. Matthew's one of those that doesn't generally need help with things, but he's also been working in the kitchen for a long time, and he watches over me. So whatever I do, he watches and then he can do it himself. But if you're not with that comfort level, that's absolutely okay. There's no shame in that. Alright, so as you can see, our cookies are out of the oven. Some of these are a little bit crispier. They were on the thinner side, but a 1/4 inch thick at between 6 to 8 minutes. I generally do 8 minutes, and it gets it perfect. If they're thicker, I would go longer, but that one was really thin. But our family likes crispy cookies, so if that's what you like, go longer. It's fine. So it's hard to see, but where Matthew is working, we have our, what do you call it? we have our cooling place down, so he's moving all of our cookies to our cooling spot, so that we have more room on our on our stove, so we can cool down. There we go. So you can see our cooling rack. Matthew's taking it and cooling all of our cookies so that later we can do our royal icing and we can work with that and color them. And that's it. That is the entire how to make sugar cookies. They are great plain. If you want to keep them plain, they are great decorated. I will say generally most people will use royal icing to decorate, but some people do use buttercream. I'm not going to show you the buttercream. It's a very different style. It's kind of like the same style that you would use for cupcakes or cookies, or cupcakes or cakes. Royal icing, for me anyway, I feel like it's better. You can do a lot of different methods, which is what I show you in my other videos. And I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the lesson. We're going to move on to royal icing. And yeah, I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. Bye. See you soon.